Good afternoon everyone. This is a autofocus test on the Panasonic G9. Panasonic are renowned for having questionable or unreliable continuous autofocus on their cameras. However, I was using this camera earlier today for another video and I was pleasantly surprised with how well the continuous autofocus performed. My G9, so this is the camera that I'm recording on, is on firmware 2.5 and the autofocus improvements were introduced in firmware version 2.4. Now you might have just seen a piece of paper in my hand and yeah, that's just for me to keep a few notes on what I'm going to cover in this video. The camera is recording at 24 frames per second and it is set to 10-bit video. This is this is fairly demanding for the camera when it comes to autofocus. So without me sort of talking any further, I'm going to start the autofocus test. At the moment you can see the camera's got me in focus and I can currently see on the display that it has a box around my face and a crosshair on the eye, so the eye autofocus is working. Next up I'm going to pick up a few objects and I'm going to put them in front of me and we're going to see how well the camera picks those up and focuses on them. First of all, I'm going to start with a book which has got a fair bit of colour on it, so it should be relatively straightforward for the G9 to pick this up and focus on it. Struggling there. Oh, there, it's got it. I'm going to put the book down and that's it's picked me back up. So next up I'm gonna pick up a camera which is black, so not much contrast for it to go on, and we'll see how well it performs. Oh, it's struggling here. Struggling. Oh, there we go, it's picked it up. Okay, got that. I'm going to drop it down and let's see now. That's picked up my face. It struggled with that, possibly due to the low contrast. So now I'm going to pick up a box and going to place it in front of the camera and let's see how well it focuses on that. Okay, I think it's acquired that. I'm going to bring it closer, pick that up, move it further back. Struggled there a bit, but picked it up, and now back to me. It did fairly all right with that. I'd be happy with that. It is a contrast AF detection system, so it's not using phase detect. And I'm going to do one more final test, and going to then disappear out of camera and come back in, and we'll see what happens. So here's another box. Okay, I think it's picked up the face on the image on the box. That's interesting. Okay, it's going for the face. I'm going to switch it around. Might make it a bit easier. There we go. Believe it's picked up focus on that. Anyway, oh, it's struggling to pick up. There we go. Okay, so you can see there it's not perfect, but it's done well. I'd be sort of happy with that. Now I'm going to run a couple of tests where I'm just going to disappear out of the view and jump back in, and we see what happens. So I've obviously not in view now, and I'm going to return, and it's lost me. Oh, there we go, it's picked me up again. Look, you can you know, I'm going to run actually another test trying this at 60 frames per second, and we'll just see if there's a an improvement. It's supposed to be, the more data the camera gets, the better it's supposed to be. So yeah, I'm gonna cut this video. Well, we're going to stop this video, and I'm gonna change the settings and to 60 frames per second, and we see what happens. Okay, I've switched the camera to record in 60 frames per second. However, it is now 8-bit as opposed to 10-bit 24 frames per second, and we're going to run the same tests with the book, the boxes, and the camera that I put in front of it. So first of all, I'm going to start with the book. So that's picked up pretty quickly actually. I'm quite impressed with that. Just move it closer. That's in focus, farther away, struggled, picked it up, and it's picked me up relatively quickly as well. I'm going to go to a box, and that's now in focus. I'm just going to move it slightly closer. Yep, in focus, farther away, and it's struggling. Okay, it's now, I believe it has, no, it's lost it again. That's in focus there. Next up, okay, it's picked me back up. Next up, I'm going to pick up the camera again. So low contrast object, let's see what happens. Struggling with that. I think it's still got focus on my face. Okay, I don't think it's managed to pick this up. No, struggling with the camera. There we go. No, it's now picked it up. Yeah, there we go. It's picked it up again. So you can see from that. Oh, it's picked me back up again. You can see from that low contrast object, it still does struggle with. However, anything with a lot of contrast in it, it picks up relatively quickly. And if you are shooting in sort of 50-60 frames per second, the autofocus performance is pretty darn good. The earlier video I did was just me talking in front of the camera. The light was better. It's I'm using artificial lighting here at the moment, so I'm not using sunlight as I had earlier, and that may have something to do with it. But we need to test it in these scenarios, because if somebody's vlogging, you're not going to be vlogging only in daylight. You could be using artificial light, and well, yeah, that's the AF performance on the Panasonic G9. Until next time, cheerio.